Welcome to another live and amplified livecast. I'm your host, Tom Quat, and we're back at it again with another amazing podcast. Today, we have a very special guest coming to us from Tacoma, Washington, but based out of Houston, Texas, or I guess technically Sugar Land. We got Luke Berryhill. How's it going today, man?
It's going good, man. Glad to be here. Thank you.
Glad to have you here. You know, it's very rare that I get to mix two passions of mine. One, I mean, I guess technically three: music, podcasting, and baseball. So this is kind of like that perfect trifecta.
Heck yeah, man. Glad we could do it.
Yeah, for sure. So really excited to have you on. Let's talk about a little bit about your early life and growing up. You're originally from Georgia, Canton, Georgia, if I read that correctly.
Canton, Georgia. Yep.
What was it like growing up in Georgia for you?
It was great, man. Good summers, tons of baseball. Like you said, baseball is a big passion of mine too. Just playing tournaments every weekend, just about. That's pretty much my whole life growing up. Traveling around the Southeast, all that stuff. Yeah.
Nice. And how does music kind of work its way in? Was it something that was just kind of always there, or is that a more recent passion that's kind of come in?
So my dad actually, he sang country music professionally back in, I guess, the late 80s and 90s. Mm-hmm. And so all growing up, he had bands when I was growing up, and we'd go to his shows, concerts every weekend, just about. And so I grew up around, seeing music all the time, and so that kind of just instilled a passion in it for me. That didn't really take place until a little bit later, till I got to high school. Mm-hmm. When I got entered into, so I went to River Ridge High School. I got entered into a thing called the Mr. River Ridge pageant. It was like a funny male beauty pageant kind of thing for charity, and I was going to tell stupid jokes or something for my talent. But 2 days beforehand, something just came over me, and I was like, you know what? I want to sing. My parents have never heard me sing before, but they were like, okay, let's hear what you got. And I sang, and they're like, okay, we got something here. So I had 2 days to prepare to sing in front of like 500 or 600 people on stage.
Nice. So, it's one of those things where it's like, it's all in good fun, and then you just kind of realize, oh, hey, I have like a talent that would do really well on this, and I just never knew it. That's yeah. So
for real, dude, that was weird.
So, and honestly, it's kind of interesting because I was thinking about this before we jumped on here. Music and baseball, those are like, you wouldn't think those would be like the two perfect career paths to kind of work together, but they do, because it's like baseball, you have an off season, and yeah, you have to like train and whatnot when you're not in season, but you can kind of backload all your music and then throughout the season just kind of keep releasing stuff. So it's kind of like this weird perfect relationship of two passions.
That's a good point, for sure. Yeah, that's pretty much what we're going to be doing as much as possible right now. Try to get stuff ready for the season, and then try to put baseball on the forefront during the season. That's a big thing. Yeah.
That's awesome. So growing up, baseball was a high priority, and then when you were in high school, you kind of discovered music. How'd you was it baseball took priority, and then as you realized like music was something that you may have had a passion for? How does that kind of all work out to get us here to today?
Man, baseball is so I could sing till I'm 80 or whatever. Willie Nelson's doing it at 89 right now.
Yeah.
So but I've only got a short window for baseball. So for this time right now, baseball's got to be top priority. Mm-hmm. I only got little window for that, but eventually music's going to be top priority. Yeah. But yeah, it's kind of. But can you repeat the question, actually?
No, there was just like a whole bunch. There was just like a whole generic random question in there, but it's just, like the fact that you understand that baseball, you have a limited time window where it's like, okay, even if you get a full career in, you're only playing until, like, I don't know, how old's the oldest catcher in the league? Are they even making it to 40? It's just kind of like, you look at the league and the position that you're playing. So it's like maybe you have 10, 15 years if you have a full career. Whereas music, you could play, like you said, until you're 80, 90 years old. And yes, it's a passion and it's something that you should be working on now, but baseball needs to be the priority. I 100% understand that.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah. Trying to get it going as much as possible now so that, the day is going to come when baseball's over, then I can just hit the ground running when music is the plan. So.
Yeah, for sure. Let's talk a little bit about your baseball career, because you're currently a member of the AAA affiliates for the Houston Astros, which is I almost call them the Sugarland Skeeters because that's how I remember them, but Sugarland Space Cowboys, because back when I was like really into baseball, like Roger Clemens came in and played for them for like a week or something, and they were so.
Wow.
But that's just showing my age right now. Like, so baseball. Did you go to college to play baseball, or were you drafted right out of high school?
I went to college. I went to Georgia Southern University. It's a smaller D1, mid-major D1 in South Georgia. Was there for about a year and a half. My freshman year, I hurt my back, and so that's actually when I decided to pick up guitar. I was sitting at home. While my teammates were out traveling, playing games, I was sitting at home alone. And so I was like, you know what, might as well do something, learn guitar. And that's one of the best decisions I ever made, I think. And then after that, I went to Walter State Community College in Tennessee, played pretty good there, and then went to South Carolina Gamecocks to finish up.
That's awesome. That's really cool. It's and it seems like that the Houston organization is like really accepting of your musical career, because Tony sent me a bunch of like different write-ups and stuff that are kind of coming out from like MR or the minor league website and a couple other sporting websites. So it seems like everybody's like really supportive of your musical ambitions outside of baseball.
For the most part, yeah, for sure. Especially the people at the stadiums and stuff there. At our stadium in Sugarland, they've been playing my song nonstop. The first song I released, they even played it in Minute Maid Park a couple times. So that was pretty cool. The other minor league affiliates that I played at here with the Astros, they're all playing it. So it's for sure they're definitely help me get the word out.
Nice, that's cool. And so you're kind of balancing two careers as we've discussed. How do you kind of make them both work right now? Like, you just released your first single, what was it, a couple months ago, I think?
About 2 months ago, yep.
Yeah. I'm terrible at math, and trying to throw months in there, it's just like, yeah. Oh, so how do you kind of balance both careers right now? And obviously, we've mentioned that baseball is like the top priority, but
yeah, it's hard, man. It's hard not to, baseball's a really up and down game. So whenever, you're struggling at the plate or something, it always helps to have music to go back to. But it's also hard to, like, once you get in a rhythm with music, it's hard to not want to stay in that like songwriting groove and stuff. So it's hard to make sure in my mind that, like, okay, baseball's it. Remember, baseball's it. Music's just part-time right now. Got to make sure that baseball's it. And so, like, it's a good offset for when I need to take a break from baseball. But
yeah,
that's as far as it's got to be during the season, at least. But then, once the off season hits, it's pretty much full go. I'm still training a lot and everything, but a lot of my free time is for music at that point.
Yeah, for sure. And especially like right now, we're coming up close to the end of the season. I don't know what it is in the AAA leagues anymore, but like end of September, right? That's pretty much the end of the season.
Got about 3 more weeks. Yeah.
Okay. It's been a while, because I used to work for I used to work in baseball. So like I did like production stuff in stadium, and I worked for an independent team, and our games were done by like mid-August. So it was wow. Yeah, we were done super early. And then, so we had that. And then afterwards, I ended up going into affiliate ball, and I worked there for a little bit. And it was just like, the passion wasn't there anymore. And like, that's always kind of the interesting thing, is like, you see people work so hard to get to a point, and then they realize like, I'm not really passionate about this anymore. So they just kind of fall away. And so
I
it's
feel you.
it's always interesting. Um, so going into music, you mentioned, or we talked about it a little bit ago, that when you were in college, you tweaked your back, and that's kind of what uh, prompted you to pick up the guitar there. At that point, were you starting to write your own music, or where were you kind of at there?
I really didn't start writing music until maybe about 2 years ago.
Mm,
And really like got actually decent about it, like maybe about a year ago.
mm,
No, I was pretty much just singing covers and everything. That's around the time when I started getting or talking to my uncle a little bit more. He's a pretty good guitar player, and
mm.
he plays a bunch of shows around North Georgia and the Southeast. And so he was teaching me some stuff about playing one man shows and stuff. And so after maybe a year or two of that, I started taking myself under his wing, and he started teaching me about like putting on my own gigs and everything. Um, and so yeah.
Cool. Like, I mean, that's cool that you kind of have family to help teach you some of the little things that most people just kind of have to learn through experience or repetition or whatever it is. But you had your uncle, your father that could just kind of like, hey, you don't have to have a full band, you can do solo shows, and this is how you go about doing that. So just kind of having that guidance is really cool.
It is for sure. Yeah, I've talked to my dad numerous times about different stuff. He's taught me so much on the singing side. He's a really really good singer. He
Mm,
never learned any instruments just because he could sing so good that he'd
mm,
always have a band to back him up. But he's taught me so much about the business side, the performance side. How to pack up and lay out your equipment for the shows in an efficient way. I mean, literally everything step by step. I couldn't thank them enough.
yeah. And now that you're kind of, obviously, we'll say it. We've said it several times already, and we'll continue to say it. Baseball is the main priority. But as you're kind of looking at the beginning parts of your music career here, where you're starting to release music, you got the first single out, you're looking at the second single. What are you, or who are you listening to as you kind of develop your sound, or what kind of musician you want to be? What kind of musicians are you listening to, or who are you influenced by?
Man, I've been listening to a lot of Cody Jinks and Parker McCollum lately.
Mhm.
I really like their sound and stuff. It's pretty laid back for the most part, and just I don't know, just it puts me in a good mood whenever I hear their stuff. But man, I don't even know if like I have an idea of what my sound is going to be yet.
Mm.
Like I like a bunch of Cody Jinks stuff, but my voice isn't nearly the same as his, so I don't know if I could even start to pull off some of the stuff that he puts out.
Right.
Um, I mean, there's a bunch of different stuff going about it, but sometimes if I'm writing a song, I'd be like, yeah, how would Cody Jinks write this if I was writing this song for him or something? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like it can put you in a different headspace and maybe give you an artistic angle that you would have never thought of and elsewhere. So
Mhm.
yeah, it could go a lot of different ways like that.
For sure. It's one of those things where it's like you're still young enough in your musical career where it's like you can still kind of form who you want to be and like what you want to say and sing about. And obviously, it's very fair to say that country is going to be like the main genre. But if you kind of want to bend to more Texas country, because you've been spending a lot of time in Texas, because you were in Corpus last year, right?
I was, yep,
Yeah.
yep.
So you've been spending a lot of time in Texas, so I wouldn't be surprised the Texas red dirt kind of rubs off on you a little bit, or if you want to go more pop, like just kind of whatever it is. But it'll be really interesting to see how your music kind of grows and stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure, dude. Yeah, like experiences. I've heard that. Yeah, just like your personal experiences really help mold who you are. And like you said, I've been spending a lot of time in Texas. I've been very exposed to the Texas country, and that's taken a deep root in my heart the last few years for sure. It's just beautiful out here, and I could definitely see where they get a lot of their inspiration from.
For sure. And then if you ultimately get called up, you could call Houston home for a good minute. So
I hear you.
yeah,
Yeah, that'd be nice.
because it's always interesting. Like I said, baseball, podcasting, music are kind of my three big passions right now. And like looking at the different prospecting lists of baseball, and like I dive way too deep in on that stuff where it's just kind of like, oh hey, and I like not to go too deep into the deep end, but just watching players grow and being able to, over the last couple of days when I first started talking to Tony about booking you on the podcast, I was like, okay, well, let me go check out, because music, I listen to the music, it's great, it's amazing, but I wanted to look at the baseball stats for some reason. And yeah, so
I hear you.
So let's talk about your new single, Dance on It, because it's out, people can listen to it. What's the story behind this song?
So I was up in Nashville. So actually, there's a lot before the story of the song actually that I
Okay,
could
fair
touch on
enough.
real quick. Um, at the end of last season, I was in Corpus Christi. I got interviewed by one of the local Corpus news stations, and so they put a story out on me, and that ended up making its way to the desk of the owner of a publishing company in Nashville. They're named Banner Music. Her name is Kamala, and Kamala reached out to me a couple days later and invited me up there this past off season for a few times to write some songs with their professional writers. And so they were just, she said that she liked helping people out whenever she could. She's a good Christian lady. Same with her husband; they're great people. They just saw something over here, and they wanted to help me out if they could. So I was very fortunate to work with them. But yeah, last off season, I wrote a bunch of songs with their people, and this one we were just sitting around, and one of the guys was like, "Hey, I got a good idea. Like I don't want to think about it, or some blah blah blah. I want to dance on it." And I was, okay, that sounds pretty good. Let's make it like more of an upbeat kind of thing. And about an hour later, we had a song that was probably the most fun I've had writing a song. We were just going back and forth, like just singing the chorus over and over and over and over and over, and we couldn't get enough of it. So that was a lot of fun.
Nice. That's really cool. That your baseball kind of led to the launch of your recording career, at least, like the best way we can kind of describe that one.
Yeah.
So was that the first time you had been to Nashville, or had you been there prior?
Well, for music, that's the first time. I only live maybe 3.5 hours from Nashville, so I've taken a couple weekend trips up there with some friends and stuff, but that was the first time I've ever been up there on business.
Is that usually how you like to write in like a co-write situation, or are you more like off by yourself when you write?
Well, during the season, I don't really have anybody to write with. Like even on the team, there's a couple guys that like country music and stuff, but nobody that's doing it like I am. And so I'm pretty much by myself during the season. But in the off season, I like getting together with other guys
Nice.
or other people, and trying to bounce ideas off their heads. Especially the people in Nashville. Like they've got years and years of experience on it. They know what writing a good song entails. And so if I can bring the raw ideas, they can help me kind of mold it, and I can learn off of them that way, and just become a more complete songwriter.
For sure. I was going to make a comment about you and Corey Lee weren't in the bullpen writing country songs or anything.
Yeah, right. No, no.
No,
if he was more of a country music guy, maybe.
Yeah. Just preface this on that one. I'm a diehard White Sox fan, so that was kind of interesting when I realized how that all kind of linked together. So
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
So so Dance On It is out now. And then you've got your second single coming out. Where are you kind of at right now? Is it the second single like ready to go and it's just a matter of getting it out, or is it still like being finalized and mastered and all that stuff? Where are you kind of at there?
Oh, it's completely done. We actually have the date already mapped out. It's September 22nd, the last weekend of our season. yeah, in the off season, we try to get everything finalized so that, we're just sitting on it until we think it's ready to release during the season. That's pretty much how it's going to go the next few years, probably.
Nice.
But yeah, that's a very close song to my heart. I tried to write that song, Ladies Man, LADY''S. It's possessive. You'll get it when you hear the song. I tried to write that 3 or 4 times by myself, and it just never quite panned out. But then I took that idea up to Nashville last off season and wrote it with 2 really good writers, and within probably 45 minutes to an hour, we had it finalized, and I couldn't be happier with it.
Nice. Now, is the plan? Are you looking at working towards like a full length album or an EP, like a bigger project, or do you kind of see yourself staying in the singles world right now?
Maybe singles world for the time being. I'm still having to fund all my music stuff, so it'd be pretty expensive to do a whole album or an extended project. So I don't know, probably just singles whenever I can do it for right now.
Fair enough. Very fair. That's always the hard thing, because it's like it costs a lot of money to record, and with Spotify, it's like, oh, you got to stay in the singles world, but then a lot of artists and fans like that full length project. So it's like, oh, where do I put my money? But
I hear you.
I think the reasonable approach right now is looking at singles and trying to figure out how you can turn them into a full length project down the line.
That's not a bad idea at all. Yeah, that's definitely something we could talk about. So.
Yeah. So as you kind of approach the final couple of weeks of baseball, the release of Ladies Man, what's kind of running through your head right now? What's got you staying awake at night, so to speak?
I'd say mostly trying to finish the season strong. It hasn't been my best year with the bat this year. The past couple of years have been pretty solid, but this year it's going up to the higher competition levels. I've struggled a little bit, which I've heard from many people, Hall of Famers, if you don't struggle, you're not going to grow. So I'm trying to take it as a positive thing, just taking all I've learned this year and try to put it in the off season and work on it and get better next year. But that's mostly what I'm focused on right now. But then once the last weekend hits, I'm excited for Ladies Man. Yeah, it's pretty much going to be a trade-off. Just baseball up until that day, and then boom, I can finally enjoy myself again.
Nice. Now, where does like the playoffs rank in? Are you guys going to make the playoffs, or is it going to be close, or where's that?
I don't think we're going to make the playoffs this year. Okay. No, we've had some ups and downs, but I think we've had a little bit more downs than we would have liked. So,
because I know in the minor leagues, like the playoffs are important to the staff and stuff like that. But like when it comes to players, because obviously, especially in AAA, where players are getting called up and called down and all this stuff, where it's like, okay, you don't have a consistent lineup, so
For sure, yeah. It seemed like whenever somebody got hot for us, whether pitching or hitting, they'd get called up, and then
And especially being right there, like Sugarland to Houston, it's like, oh hey, so and so went down, we need a catcher, bring me that kid, like whatever it is. So it's not like a huge transition, because like for any other team, if they've got to call a guy up and they've got to travel halfway across the country, it's like, dang, okay. Yeah,
it's a whole process at that point. But yeah, like you said, I think we're only like 35 minutes from the Astros stadium. So there's days where 2 or 3 guys will be gone up there, or that like leave our team to go up there, and we won't even know until like halfway through the game. It's like, oh, where'd they go? And then they'll be back the next day. Like it's crazy, man. I've never seen anything like it.
Right. Let's talk a little bit about baseball, and then we'll kind of jump back into the music. So you were originally drafted by the Reds, right?
Correct. Yep. In 2019.
And then were you traded during that weird pandemic season where there wasn't like minor league, or how did you make your way over to the Astros?
Yeah, that was weird, man. I had only played, I think, 8 games in my rookie season. I pulled my oblique, and that put me out for the last couple months. So only 8 official games. Took the whole COVID year off. Then we had a thing called Instruct. It's pretty much where they invite a bunch of the minor league guys to the facility. We had that in like November of 2020, and we just did a little practice camp up there, played a few games, and funny story. I actually ended up. So I caught that night, and I guess I took a little too long packing up my bag, and I ended up missing the bus back to our side of the complex. We shared a complex with the Guardians, and I ended up walking about halfway back with an Astro scout that was there at the game, and so talked to him for 30 or 45 minutes, and then about 2 weeks later, I was traded. So that was crazy. That's definitely a God thing right there.
Yeah,
so.
That's wow. That's like it's all pure luck, happenstance, just like coincidence, everything wrapped up all at once, and you just happen to find your way to Houston. And you've been with Houston. This will be your third season or third full season, right? Yeah, third full season.
I think third. Yeah, third full season. Yep.
Yeah. And what's kind of the progress looking forward? Obviously, you were invited to spring training this past year because I saw. Did you sing the national anthem at spring training, or was that a game in Corpus?
I did. Well, I actually sang it. I've sang it at every affiliate that I've been with the Astros, except for Sugarland. We had it set up this year, but it just never worked out. But yes, I sang it at the big league spring training game in front of Dusty Baker, Jeff Bagwell, Craig Biggio, and all that. It's just it was a lot of fun. A bunch of the big leaguers were out there that day. And whenever I got back to the dugout after that, Dusty Baker wrapped me up in a bear hug, like, dude, that was awesome, man. Like, nice. I loved it, all that stuff. So that was a really cool experience.
Nice. I really like the Florida spring training like vibe when you get a chance to kind of go to different games. And yeah, it's not like Arizona where everything's like right on top of each other. You do have to travel a little bit, but it just feels like a game. Like, and there's not a bunch of teams sitting right on top of each other. It's like it feels cool. Like the Florida Spring Training League is probably one of my favorite leagues to go to, like just for spring training.
I hear you, man. Yeah, when I was in Arizona, I never got to really experience the Arizona spring training. I was still a rookie in the minors. But yeah, once we got to this spring training, I definitely understand what you're talking about.
Yeah, and it's Arizona. Like Florida's hot, but Arizona's hot. And just I don't know. It just to me, Florida seems a little bit more controlled in February and March versus like Arizona. So kind of looking towards your future in baseball, what's kind of being said about you? Like, do you think major, like for people that are just kind of meeting you, what's kind of being said about your future in baseball?
It's pretty much up in the air, man. I think maybe another year of me developing as a catcher and nailing my hitting down. I think the sky's the limit at that point. But right now, I think I still have a little bit more growing to do. So it's honestly just up in the air whether the Astros want to call me up at some point if I'm doing that well, or if they think it'd be better to trade me to another team that doesn't have a catcher and they need me. It is what it is at this point. It's kind of out of my hands. I'm just, trying to do the best I can.
Yeah, for sure. And one of the things. So my childhood friend played baseball all through college, and he ended up signing with the Diamondbacks. He was an undrafted signee or whatever it's considered. Yeah. Yep. And so he signed with the Diamondbacks, and so he went through like the summer instructional camp, and then he went through like rookie league, and just kind of talking to him and the outlook that players have to have about seeing your path to move forward is a completely different aspect of the game that I didn't even think about. Like for him, he was a pitcher. Like in college, he started all that stuff. And then he was moved to the bullpen, and he just didn't see his path. Like, he was started off in the bullpen, was relief, and he was the go-to guy. And then he started losing time, and he was like pitching once a week. And it was like, yeah, I don't have a path to the majors anymore, because it's like I can't get into a rhythm pitching once a week, you know?
Yeah.
So
I feel you, dude. It's especially in AAA this year. Like up until this point, it wasn't too much of an issue with me. But this year in AAA, I've definitely seen that. AAA is a lot more business than people think. Like lower in the minors, you know, everyone's getting their fair share of playing time. When you're in AAA, the guys are pretty much on call for whatever the big league needs. So I'm on the team with a couple guys that have big league time right now, and so they're getting the majority of the playing time, and I'm trying to, you know, it's never been like this for me. So I'm trying to stay positive and just, you know, accept that it's not really me. It's you know, it's out of my hands kind of thing. So I'm just got to do the best you can with what you got. So.
Yeah, for sure. Was catching something that you had always done, or how did you kind of fall into the catcher position?
I was actually a first baseman growing up. You know, when I was playing like little league and stuff, I was the only one on the team that could catch when I was like 5 or 6. And so I just kind of stuck out at first base the next few years. And then one day, I think I was like 11, our normal catcher was sick or something. And so our coach was like, hey, you know, you catch at first base, you know, you want to put the gear on? I said, sure. And ended up loving it. Started throwing guys out and everything. And, you know, just went from there.
During a time when being a catcher was a lot less technical, it was just catch the ball, get it back to the pitcher. And if the guy tries to steal, throw it back. You're not controlling the game as much as you probably are now as a catcher.
100%. Yep.
I just had major flashbacks to playing Little League Baseball when you said I was the first baseman because I knew how to catch. And I was like, that's probably the biggest truth I've ever heard in baseball, ever. Because it's like I couldn't catch, so they threw me out in like left field, or so they threw me out in like left or right field, wherever the ball wasn't going to go. And I'm like, okay. So I just stood out there and like took up space, and then they'd put me at the bottom of the order, and I'd just be that guy that would step into a pitch every once in a while and, you know, get on base. But, you know, so no, it's cool. So like it's amazing that like baseball is kind of there for you, and you're going after your dreams and all that stuff. And you got the music that's starting to pick up steam. You got the new release coming out on 22nd. What's the plan for the off season? Are you going to start, like, how often do you usually play like live shows during the off season?
So I usually take a few weeks off after the season. And then after that, I mean, so we've already been trying to book me gigs off season, but the first few weeks of off season, I usually try to take for myself, just kind of decompress from baseball and everything, reset. And then I start training again and start playing gigs again. So probably maybe 2 a week is what I'm aiming for. Maybe one during the week, and then maybe one on Friday or Saturday, something. It honestly keeps me busy, and I really enjoy it. On top of making decent money doing it most of the time.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Nice. You'd mentioned the story with the Corpus Christi getting you in touch with a publisher out in Nashville, but has playing baseball opened up any doors for co-writes with, like, have other players asked to like write with you, or has like somebody that was in the state, like, has it opened up any other doors for you writing wise or musically? And I guess
it actually has. One thing that's recently happened is one of the guys from Florida Georgia Line was actually at my agency building in Nashville, and so they dropped my name to him, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I used to play baseball. Like I'd love to meet him one time and maybe write a song." So that's something in the work. But yeah, little stuff like that happens every now and then. Like I'll meet somebody, or you know, stuff like that. Yeah. So.
Nice. You and Yohan Moncada sitting in the booth cutting a track together.
That would be pretty cool. Yeah.
I keep hearing about his music career, and I was like, I've just not been interested to go listen to it. And it's just like, I'd rather watch you play baseball. I'm sorry, Yohan. I'm a Sox fan and I support everything you do, but yeah. So,
Gotcha.
so kind of looking forward, you're booking out shows and recording and all that fun stuff. Where are you kind of at creatively? Is there a song that you're currently working on that's kind of piquing your interest as far as like just writing, not necessarily like recording or anything like that?
Mhm. Um, really, I don't get into too many like big writing moods during the season.
Okay.
Um, I go to my room after a game or something, and I play a lot on my guitar, just decompress and stuff. But every now and then I'll strike some inspiration and like really for a couple of days work on a song or something.
Gotcha.
But I constantly collect song ideas.
Mhm.
That's my big thing. And so like during the year, I'll keep a lookout for something interesting that somebody says, or an interesting billboard that I see that has a cool slogan on it, or it could literally be anything. And sometimes it'll just come to me in my sleep. That's a weird thing. Like some random idea I'll wake up at 3 a.m. with an idea in my head,
Yeah.
and I got to write it down.
Right.
It's weird, man, how this has started working. But
Hey, when the inspiration strikes, you just got to go for it sometimes,
for real, dude.
So
Yeah. But to answer your question, no, I don't really have anything in the rights right now, but I've got a
mhm.
lot of good ideas that I'm really excited to work on.
Nice. So during the baseball season, is it fair to say, do you bring your guitar on the road with you, or is that stay at home and then on the road it's just 100% baseball?
Last year, well, in years prior, I've taken my guitar on the road because
Mhm.
we bus everywhere in the lower levels.
Mhm.
So it'd be sometimes an 8-12 hour bus ride and through the night, and I'd just be playing my guitar from my room or from my teammates, and
Yeah.
they'd be throwing out songs for me on the bus and stuff. So, but since we started flying in AAA, that's a lot harder because you got to carry your stuff through the airport, you got to check everything. It's just a hassle that I don't really want to deal with. So
For sure. Completely understood. I didn't realize, I wasn't sure if you guys flew for AAA or if it was more bus, but I mean, I guess since you're in Washington coming from Houston, it's like that would be one hell of a bus trip. So
I hear you. Yeah,
that
man.
would that would be brutal. Oh, so just kind of moving forward outside of music, outside of baseball, when you do have that rare minute to yourself, just to like decompress or whatever, what do you do outside of baseball and music? Or what do you do to kind of decompress from everything?
I like to play some video games now and then. I'm a big Netflix guy. Always trying to find a new cool show. Pretty much just the normal stuff. Sometimes go on a drive, go find something interesting to do. Go somewhere I've never been. Um, just could be anything, honestly. And that honestly that could open up for some good songwriting ideas as well. So
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's pretty consistent across the board, just in general, kind of opportunities to shut the brain off at any opportunity, because it's like baseball, you're dealing with so much, having to think about so much, and then music, you're having to think about so much. It's like any opportunity you get to just kind of like, oh, I could turn on this mindless TV show or this, just go sit out in nature and just kind of enjoy the moment. So
for sure, dude. Yeah, you get sucked up into too much of anything, whether it's baseball or music, whatever it is. I mean, you're gonna go crazy. So,
mhm.
like you said, you got to just shut your mind off and try not to go crazy.
Right,
So,
100%, 100%. So, if anybody wants to check out your music, Ladies Man, when it releases here in a few weeks, or just interact with you on social or catch a show if they happen to be in the area, where's the best place to find you?
my music's gonna be on all platforms: Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, you name it, YouTube. But my main social is Instagram. You can just search in Luke Berryhill.
Mm.
My handle is at @verychill_Berryhill. I know I probably need to change that. That was from high school, but I
Hey,
got a Twitter as well. I don't use that as much. I'll post on YouTube now and then, maybe a clip of me singing a song or something. But Instagram's probably the best way.
Yeah, for sure. It's you know what, the Instagram handle works. It's like I think people worry too much about how an Instagram handle kind of affects them. Like, I don't know. It worked for me. When I saw it, I was like, oh, that's a cool Instagram handle. So
Okay, well,
uh,
I
yeah,
might think about keeping it now. So
yeah. Oh, so you got a game tonight. You're playing up in Tacoma. Uh what's your predictions for tonight? I want to hear score prediction.
oh man, the Space Cowboys are going to win 20-0.
There you go.
That's what I'm predicting. Yeah, with a perfect game by our pitchers, and we're going to have 15 home runs. That's what I'm predicting right now.
I'm gonna put it into the ether. Luke Berryhill is gonna hit for the cycle tonight. Just say it. Putting it out there.
Yeah, put it out.
But really appreciate you taking the time to sit down and chat. Had so much fun to kind of talk baseball, music, all the fun stuff. Really appreciate you sitting here and chatting with me. Good luck on your game tonight. Hopefully I'll win 20-0 with the cycle, everything we just talked about, all that fun stuff. We will catch you all later.
Thank you.
Yep.